A number of years ago, I had been associated with someone who frequently channeled an aspect that she identified as Michael. At a personal level, we were friends, and so I became comfortable being around this energy frequently and was amused and intrigued with it, and expressed an interest in doing the same myself. At some point, her father passed away, and a week after he passed away, she and I were having a visit, and I spontaneously began to swirl as if I was very drunk.
That's that swooning. That's that mixture of energy that we're talking about. That's that influx of that higher vibration that she was summoning and you were allowing, but you weren't quite ready to allow as much as she was summoning.
Right. Well, what occurred is that to one side, I heard her father wanting to communicate with her. And at first I resisted it, and then it was just like, okay, go with it. And so I carried on this dialogue between the two of them for some period of time, and it totally freaked me out after it was over. And
I want this thing I do not want.
Well, I had wanted to do it until it occurred, and then it was a bit overwhelming, to say the least.
While it was happening, what was your sensation?
It reminded me of my days of being very drunk and trying to throw one leg off the end of the bed to keep it from spinning.
But you see, what you're describing, this physical experience, is because the circumstances that led up to that, in other words, the asking was in a surer place than your readiness for it. In other words, it was like summoning something that was really, really wanted before you were quite vibrationally aligned. That's what the dizziness was all about. That's why even to this day, Esther does not need to lean on a chair. But she remembers in the early days there was a feeling of disorientation because her energy was not ready for that which was us. And so she always uses a chair or a podium or something to steady herself when we first enter. Now she's just enjoying it. It's new.
Another shopping experience. My question that follows along this line is that something vibrationally now that you sense that I could use to be of service to my fellow man?
Anytime, yes. You have the ability, you've had it for a long time. And like your friend who could have received her father also, but for whatever reason was not able to or willing to allow it, you all move in and out of your readiness. Esther is a wonderful example of someone who vibrationally allows. And the advantage that she had is that she was with someone who was doing all of the asking. You remember, the process is 3 steps. There's step 1, which is ask. That's your work. Contrast helps you to do that. Step 2 is not your work. Source does the answering. Step 3 is your work, and it's really your most important work that you must be conscious of. You must be in a vibrational place of allowing what you're asking for. So their experience caused the asking, much more focused through Jerry than through Esther. Esther's easy alignment with the energy made her a wonderful receiver. And the reason that we put it to you this way is because it's not easy. In fact, it's not even possible to be in the asking mode and the allowing and receiving mode at the same time. They are 2 different experiences. And so that's sometimes what causes that. In other words, what happened to you when it broke through in that way was because your friend was in a powerful state of asking. You weren't so much. You were more playing the role of allower. And so that's the most significant thing as you begin to consciously begin this is you have to find a way to separate the vibration of your asking the question from your vibration of your receiving the answer, because the 2 sometimes don't mix. Here's what we mean. Usually when you're asking a question, it's because you don't know the answer. And when you don't know the answer, you've got the I don't know the answer to this pulsing in your vibration. And when you've got the I don't know the answer to this pulsing in your vibration, you can't hear the answer. So you have to find a way to not have activated in your vibration your belief that you don't know the answer in order to receive the answer. So that's why it is often easier, it certainly is easier for Esther, to stand before you, put herself in the receiving mode, clear her thought, clear her mind of any thought. In other words, literally deactivate any vibration that isn't a match. She basks, she appreciates, she meditates, she listens to music. In other words, she does whatever she can do to bring her vibration to a good feeling place, and then she just relaxes and allows you to ask the question that she then allows to flow through her.
My concern was, and my concern is at this time, is that I be able to do that in such a way that I don't mix my beliefs or issues with whatever the message is that's coming through. How do I delineate which is which?
By making the statement that says, I really want, Esther begins always, as she is bringing us in, by saying, Abraham, I want to speak clearly your words. In other words, she just makes that statement. And through enough time and practice, she now trusts that that will be the experience. And we would say to you, once you define your desire, if something different from your desire is happening, you'll feel uneasiness while it's happening. The thing that is a little unsettling or makes you worry about it is that you have to remember that you are at an unconscious level doing the deciphering. So
exactly.
It's normal that the words would flow in your vernacular. It's normal that the words, in fact, it's normal for many of you that the words flow in Abraham vernacular if you've been listening to some recordings. In other words, you listen to the recordings, you get into the feeling of the vibration as you listen to the tapes, and then as you begin to hear the words even in your own head, often they sound like Esther because that's the way you're accustomed to listening to the energy, feeling the energy, listening to the energy, hearing the words of it, you see. So, like anything, when you make your statement of desire, if something other than your statement of desire is happening, you feel the discord of it in your energy field.
Well, I'm just looking for some way to...
Here's another way. When Source is speaking through you, it is always joyful, uplifting message. If it's other than that, it's probably your mother.
Don't do that.
In other words, it's old records playing about what not to do, because your source energy is never protecting you from something. Your source energy is always guiding you toward what you are wanting. So that's another sort of rule of thumb. You can feel it. Here's another thing. When you decide that you want to receive, spend a day or two in the same way that you might prepare to come to a gathering like this. Spend a day or two defining what it is you'd like to know. And let that be the day that you formulate the question. And then at some point, a day or two later, sit with the deliberate intent of being in the receiving mode. And meditate in order to clear your mind. And then say, I want to spend the next segment of time listening for the answers to what I've been considering. And this is a mode that I will just listen to hear. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, especially, don't try to ask a question, receive an answer, ask a question, receive an answer in the way that we are doing here, because Esther is only in the receiving mode. She's not asking the question. You are mostly in the asking mode, you see. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why people who are listening in are usually benefiting even more than the one who is sitting in the hot seat, because usually when you are in the hot seat, there is a part of your question that is still pulsing, which makes it so you cannot sometimes fully receive the answer.
And is this something that my personal vibration at this particular point in time is attuned to, that's clear and clean enough to be effective?
Yes, has been for some time.
Okay. Second part of this question is, if the vibration is clean and clear and able and so forth, how is it that things, for lack of a better description, I'll call them irritations, the occasional cockroach, no big deal.
That's like saying, why when I touch the hot stove does it hurt?
Let me finish, please. Pile of ants that just keep rebuilding. Dogs that bark for hours and won't stop for no apparent reason.
Hard to imagine since he never brings it up.
Well, I'm aware of that, but I don't know what to do with it.
Well, you've hit upon the very tricky thing, because what you're saying is, when I observe something that I do not want, I cannot help but activate it in my vibration. So I activate the thing that I do not want by observing it, and then I just get more of it. And then Jerry has posed this question to us. He will say, I'm pretty sure I wasn't thinking about that before I got it. But after I got it, I started thinking about it. And we say, the essence of it had to be present in your vibration before you began to attract the reality of it. And so look at what's happening as a gift or a blessing that's helping you to realize what the content of your vibration is. In other words, somewhere in there, there is a feeling that there are intruders that come into your experience, or there is the feeling that things that you don't want can get in and that you don't have control about it. In other words, we can feel, you and most everybody, frankly, is still questioning to some degree to how much am I really the creator of my own experience. Esther will argue even today, with all that she knows and all that she's heard, that something other than what she did causes somebody to make a mess with her windows. In other words, on some level she knows that it's her doing, but she would like Jerry to take a little responsibility too. In other words, this is his building too. Why is it only my vibration that causes the broken window? She will say, I think my vibration caused all the windows that are still good. And somebody else's vibration caused the broken one. And then Jerry will wisely say, who's the most worried about the broken window? In other words, when you start paying attention to how you're feeling, you start noticing the correlation between what you're thinking and feeling. And we think what happens with many of you. We can feel it from what you're saying here. And Esther has it too. You want so much to be of value. You want to make sure that you get it right, that you go way, way overboard. In other words, why not allow others to be responsible for what happens to them too? Why take upon yourself responsibility for what anybody is living who is around you? Instead, just work on your vibration and let the universe help you rendezvous with what matches it. And when things come to you, let it be the reflection of what you are offering vibrationally. And if you like what's coming, then don't change anything. And if you don't like what's coming, then start tweaking it a little bit. And watch how responsive your life experience is to the way you feel.
Well, when you say work on your vibration, specifically, how are you suggesting that I work on that?
What we're talking about here today is whenever you feel any negative emotion, no matter how strong or slight it is, stop and say to yourself, it is my desire to find relief from this negative emotion. And staying on this subject, what thoughts could I think that give me a little bit of relief? And as you, in a sort of determined way, keep massaging where you're at with the singular intention of feeling a little bit of relief, when you feel it, you'll know it. And as you practice that a little bit, you achieve a new set point. On the recording equipment, there are little grooves. You can feel them when you turn the knobs. And it is the setting that the manufacturer believes will work best for you. There's a knob, so you can go to the left or the right of it, but that's the knob, that's the groove that the manufacturer thinks is going to work the best for most, a sort of set point. And in the same way that Jerry can feel himself moving in and out of that groove with his knob, you can feel yourself moving in and out of your comfortable place. And the more you want to feel good, and the more you practice until you do feel good, then the more you're able to feel when you're moving in and out of it. This is really advanced vibrational understanding. When you let your emotions guide you, and you say, no longer am I going to demand that circumstances change so that when I observe them I feel good, but instead I'm going to find a way of feeling good by selecting the circumstances that I observe, or even better, at looking at any circumstance and finding a way of feeling good. Now you're free.
Would marijuana enhance this or detract it?
Marijuana would enhance your ability to allow. It detracts from your ability to focus. So often after the experience, even though you know something happened, you don't know what it was.